You're all doomed! Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong camp. Hi, everyone. Welcome to SpaceCamp, the podcast where we talk about end of mission. I am your camp counselor, Paul, the pressure-fed astronaut. And this is my other camp counselor.
Face of sarcasm. They're not paying me anymore.
You just live here?
Yeah.
You just walk around the forest with a hockey mask on for some reason. This is SpaceCamp. What are you doing?
I'm trying to recreate the experience of being in like the woods and the jungle. I got my machete with me, got my my mask with me. All I had was this, hockey mask.
Yeah, you really like Rambo.
Yes.
There's no other reason. No other reason you like this. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Welcome to 4th of July. This is our movie special. We're talking about...
Yay!
SpaceCamp.
SpaceCamp. We all love SpaceCamp, don't we?
Yeah, we've been to SpaceCamp. We didn't go as, space campers because... personal reasons.
Yeah, obviously.
Personal reasons.
We haven't... But we've seen the facility, right? We've seen all the SpaceCamp stuff in Huntsville.
Yeah, we've been there. Multiple times.
Yeah.
There is thunder behind me.
Cool.
Also, I should note, since the last recording, I was almost hit by a tornado.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You got a picture of it.
Yeah, I got a picture of it. It was an EF2, I could have taken it. So now we're going to pivot to... I really want to watch the movie Twister. That's just...
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's a fun one. And there is a shot of a satellite in it, so maybe we could talk about it. There we go.
That's a great excuse.
Yeah. There's a shot of a...
Oh, look, there's space. We can talk about this movie.
Yeah, for 2 seconds, there's a shot of GOES in the wrong orientation. Okay.
Perfect.
We're not talking about Twister. We're talking about SpaceCamp, a movie that is 10 years older than Twister and far less successful.
I wonder why.
Okay, so for SpaceCamp, our flight is going to be on Atlantis. That's OV-104, the 21st flight of the Space Shuttle program. This will be the unintentional first flight of Atlantis, which that's true.
Wait, unintentional?
Spoiler alert.
Oh.
I mean, it's intentional if you're the demon, but...
Right. We'll get to the demon.
So the previous flight of the Space Shuttle program, assuming this takes place on September 12th, 1985, when this should take place, is STS-51I, which I think was not a DoD mission. I have no idea what 51I did. We haven't gotten that far. Okay, we're doing mid-90s missions right now. Okay. So, SpaceCamp was a movie that came out in June of 1986. The best time to make a movie about the space shuttle.
Yeah, right after Challenger.
It was supposed to come out in February 1986. I think that's when it was supposed to come out. Oops.
Gosh.
So this is a family film. I think it's owned by Disney now because I know they wanted to do a reboot of it somehow. And so it follows 4 teens, a child, and an astronaut as they go through SpaceCamp, which they treat like JROTC in this. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's bizarre the way they treat it.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, my dad sent me here to do this. It's like, why?
Yeah. Maybe his dad's weird. You ever think of that? His dad's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He starts, collecting rocks or something.
Yeah, he's a rocket collector, a geologist. There's something there.
Behold, it's an amethyst.
When I was in college and debating if I should still be an engineer, I took one of those career profile tests, and it said I should be a geologist. So that's just...
What did the test see in you that decided that, yep, geologist is right?
I do like rocks. I do have some of those. I think that is pretty interesting. It's just I don't know chemistry. That's the problem.
Oh, so this test just, nailed it for what you should be.
Yeah, I still have it. I wonder what it says for the others, but yeah. The movie treats space camp like JROTC. Like an actual astronaut goes to be a camp counselor at space camp. They don't do that. They bring astronauts to say, hey, come in, look, this could be you. And there's 5 astronauts who've actually gone to space camp.
Perhaps. I don't know the exact numbers.
Yeah, we got in front of the picture of one.
Oh yeah. There was the 4 and then you. I remember that picture.
Yeah, I didn't include it in this. I only got 2 or 3 shots from our trip there.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is weird. They treat it like JRTC, and the group that we follow, they get to sit in Atlantis during the flight readiness firing, which happens on September 12th, 1985. But oh no, they're accidentally launched into space and orbit. Uh-oh. Will these teenagers survive this family film?
No. It would be a bold strategy if they didn't.
That's a very mature interpretation of this. Now, so obviously the film is a notorious flop because it came out right after Challenger, and the critics didn't like it. We didn't really like it. Watching it again,
this is a bad movie. Don't watch it.
We didn't really like it because I like the core. The core is a real movie. I like the core. I like Deep Impact. Deep Impact's good. I like Armageddon. Armageddon's not a very good movie, but it's still fun.
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, this one's just kind of weird because the first half is just a recruitment ad. It's kind of like the SWAT movie from 2003. That whole movie feels like a recruitment ad. You've never seen that movie, have you?
No, I've never seen that. But I have seen SpaceCamp. I've seen the first half of SpaceCamp, and I did not like the first half of SpaceCamp.
Yeah.
I didn't like the second half either.
Yeah, it's like Full Metal Jacket. Now that's a way to introduce Space Camp. Do it like that. Because everyone remembers the first half of Full Metal Jacket. No one remembers the second half.
I've never actually seen the second half of Full Metal Jacket. I've seen the first half twice.
There is only one line from the second half of the movie that anyone remembers. And it's, me love you long time. That's where that comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've actually never heard that expression.
Oh. Well. If you've ever heard it, it comes from Full Metal Jacket. Now you know.
Now you know. That's a line I know.
Yep. So there we go. End of mission. We're all done, folks. Now, Leah Thompson has said that there are people who have seen the movie and they liked it and they wanted to become scientists and engineers. Kind of like Star Trek, right? Dad became an engineer because he watched Star Trek and really liked watching Scotty going up and down the Jeffries tubes and fixing things.
Yeah.
Yeah. He even has,
I like the...
Yeah, and he even has that plaque thing. Yeah, it's like he's like an engineering officer for Starfleet or something, some fan club thing. I'll have to look at that again. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know where that is. I'll ask about that. Yeah. So I guess people do like this movie, and it did inspire them to become scientists and engineers. Why didn't they pick Star Trek? I don't know. Okay, so everyone listening, just as an editorial note, for some reason, nothing to do with Face of Sarcasm's Commodore 64 that he records on and we use Discord for. Our audio cuts out, so he doesn't hear me half the time. So he might be interrupting me and saying like horrible things, but I don't hear it. We're going to try to fix this, maybe by getting a computer that was made, with silicon instead of water or whatever yours is made of. But just as a warning, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. It also could be Discord. I think that must be because Skype never had this problem, and Skype's
Skype
dead.
never had this problem. Yeah, we just use Skype if. Sorry.
Yeah. Don't worry. Okay, so let's start off. The 80s have arrived.
Oh God.
This movie is aggressively 80s. By the way, I'm just gonna say that right now. This is an aggressively 80s movie. So if you want some nostalgia, watch this.
He wants some nostalgia if you're 40 years old.
Yeah. Okay, I do kind of like that car behind him, that white one. I like cars that have zip codes, okay? That's...
the big box.
It's a thing, okay? But yeah, this movie is aggressively 80s. Yes, this is one of our main characters coming in. It's Tate Donovan. And he parks here in the parking lot for SpaceCamp and overlooks but is not there anymore.
Because this has all been developed, right?
I had this vision of growing pine tree. Oh, wait, that's a different movie. That's Back to the Future. That's a different movie.
That's a better movie with Leah Thompson.
Yes. Which is what she just finished making before doing this. So Leah Thompson flies in on this biplane, landing on roughly where 565 is. If you've been to Huntsville, this is 565 we're looking at. And you'll notice it's not there. It's gone.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. But, so, yeah, obviously, for perspective, you looking at Leah Thompson, behind you is the Redstone Arsenal, which still had active duty soldiers there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Again, if you go to SpaceCamp, go to Space and Rocket Center, you'll see there's an incline up to a fence. Behind that fence is the Redstone Arsenal, a military facility where I work. Don't stalk me. But
do not climb that fence.
Yeah. In this movie, again, it's just, this all is just 80s. It's great. But yeah, this is Huntsville. So we're looking north at Madison right now. I've driven this road. You've driven this road.
Yeah. Have I driven this road?
Yes, it's 565. Or have I driven it and you've just been passenger? I don't know.
I've just been sitting in the same car where you just happen to be driving on 565.
Yeah, but you wish you were driving, considering how I drive. Hey, look, we've been here. There's a Saturn 1 mock-up at the Space and Rocket Center, and we've been there. See? That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's been restored since then.
And has a brand new colors to it as well.
Yeah. It's been restored, and obviously they've changed the rocket garden since this movie was made, because, again, you'll see the Saturn V laying outside, which that's in this building now, right here.
Yeah.
But it is fun to go look. Hey, we've been here.
Yeah, it is.
As you can see, we've been under it. There it is. There's me. We were gonna make a special about going to the Space and Rocket Center, but that just kind of fell apart.
I got busy.
Yeah, he got busy. Yeah, we were there on November 3rd. So that's to give you a reference. That's when I tweeted out, "Come to the Space and Rocket Center if you want to fight." So, yeah.
You cut out entirely for me. I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we went there on the 3rd, which is that's when I tweeted out, "Come to the Space and Rocket Center if you want to fight."
In those exact words, yeah.
Yep. Ignore the main cast. If you look right here, you will see XE Prime. That is that is a nuclear rocket engine test article sitting out in front of these teenagers. That explains a lot.
They're just lightly getting irradiated. Oh, I love the 80s.
You just cut out.
Oh shoot!
No,
they're lightly getting irradiated.
Yeah, I love.
I love the 80s.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, this one will be edited heavily, I think. And you can see there's the Saturn V that's now inside a building and safe, because we went there in 2007 in January, and it was still outside for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a stormy day like today when I'm recording.
You mean the bright and sunny day when we're recording? Because it's bright and sunny for me.
Yeah. So this is XE Prime now. This is at Marshall. I've actually driven by this. There's, I think, a test article for the Aerospike engine, I think the RS-2000. And then to the left of this image is a giant SRB structural test article.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah. And one of the things in this movie that's kind of a big plot point is that Leah Thompson wants to be the first female space shuttle commander. It's a big tough here. And Kate Capshaw, Andy Bergstrom is an astronaut candidate who's supposed to be, I think, like a hybrid of Sally Ride, Judy Resnick, but can also fly. They want to be the first female shuttle commanders, right? Kind of like the triumph of women.
Yeah.
Pictured here is the first woman to command a space shuttle.
That's not Leah Thompson.
It isn't. It is Eileen Collins. She
Oh.
joined astronaut group 13 in 1990. Her first flight as a pilot was on STS-63 in 1995. Eileen Collins was born in November 1956, and Leah Thompson was born in May 1961. So there is some proximity in age to the first women to command the shuttle.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty close. It's about 5 years off,
Yeah.
roughly. Also,
And sorry.
And Andy is likely a TFNG because she looks kind of like Judy Resnick, maybe a hodgepodge of different astronauts from that era. It's not really stated, but implied.
Got it.
And we haven't done any of Judy Resnick's flights because she only flew once and then died on Challenger. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, in this movie is a little robot friend who we started to refer to as a demon.
That's the demon right there.
There he is.
Look at it.
Or
Look at its eyes.
Yeah.
Its soulless eyes.
Yeah, like a doll's eyes. Or it's a large language model. That's the other thing we were joking about. It's an LLM like ChatGPT.
As a large language model, I cannot into space.
Yeah. Also, wait. You can see that's the Apollo 16 capsule right there.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. The other thing in the movie is too. There's like random people working on things at the Space and Rocket Center. They're museum displays. It's a museum.
Yeah, so they're loosening the bolts in the morning, and then they're tightening the bolts in the evening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this movie also treats SpaceCamp again. It's like it's ROTC for NASA. It isn't. Just establishing that in case anyone has any funny ideas.
It's like, I want to join SpaceCamp. Okay, nerd.
Yeah, weird. It is raining heavily against my window right now.
Okay, I can't hear anything.
Okay. And with that, we have our cast and crew. Our commander is Kevin Donaldson. He was born 25th September 1963. He's from Tenafly, New Jersey. I'm using the actor's biographical data for this, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I figured I'd do it this way because I thought it would be funny.
It is.
Okay, good. So Kevin is played by Tate Donovan. He's been in a lot of movies. This is his second film, though. He's been in Argo. Oh. He was Hercules. Not the Kevin Sorbo one, the animated film.
Oh, the one people actually watched?
Yeah, the one with James Woods. He was great in that, too. He was also in Swordfish. Because, he was in Swordfish for like 2 minutes. I wanted to bring that up. Our mission pilot is Catherine Fairley, born May 31st, 1961. She's from Rochester, Minnesota.
Really?
Yeah, Minnesotan. Woohoo!
Woo! Let's go!
Catherine is played by Leah Thompson, who was in Back to the Future, which she just finished. This is her 7th film role, and this was made right before Back to the Future came out. So,
got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mission Specialist 1 is Rudy Tyler. He was born August 17th, 1961. He's from New York City. He's played by Larry B. Scott. I don't know of any movies I've seen him in, but he was in Revenge of the Nerds, The Karate Kid, a few episodes of Magnum P.I. So all 80s stuff. He was really big in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize those names. It's just I've seen Magnum P.I. Not every episode, but I've seen Magnum P.I.
Yeah.
You know there was a remake TV show of Magnum P.I.?
Of course there is.
Yeah, I think Higgins is played by a woman in that now. I don't get it.
It's too woke.
Yeah. They also did a remake of Quantum Leap as well.
Really?
Yeah. The fact that we're not talking about it, you don't know about it, that kind of explains how good it is, apparently.
Got it.
So Mission Specialist 2 is Tish Ambrose. She was born October 13th, 1962, and she did die on July 12th, 2020, I think of breast cancer. So,
R.I.P.
Yeah. She's from Honolulu, Hawaii. Tish is played by Kelly Preston. She's been in a bunch of stuff. Sky High, Twins, Battlefield Earth. I picked the worst. I picked some really bad examples. I think she was married to John Travolta, because that's how she got into like Battlefield Earth.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
Gosh.
But at the time, she was with Kevin Gage, who was Waingro in Heat. And apparently, apparently he's an extra in this movie.
Somewhere.
Yeah, which would explain why he would be an extra. And it's like, come along, come go to this movie. Come to Alabama with me. Ugh.
Ugh.
And our payload specialist is Max Graham, born October 28th, 1974. He was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So, isn't that neat? He's played by...
That is pretty neat.
Yeah. He's played by Leaf Phoenix. Now he's known as Joaquin Phoenix. Leaf is because he was born into the Children of God cult, which, if you want to read about that, get ready for some very dark things. Like any cult, God commanded the cult leader to, be fruitful.
Ugh.
Yeah, and his brother is River Phoenix, who played young Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's his brother. So,
Dang.
And I think at this point, a lot of people know who Joaquin Phoenix is. He is a phenomenal actor. He was in The Master. He's the Joker in Joker. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I can't think of it now because we're recording, and it's like, oh my gosh, all this is going on. But yeah, he's a big actor. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the wrong stuff. That's our crew. Oh, and for the other two big names, Kate Capshaw. She's been in a bunch of stuff. She was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes. That's where I recognize her from.
Yeah, that's what she's from. And then her husband is Tom Skerritt, who was in Contact, and he was also Captain Dallas in Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 other space movies. Look at that. Look at us.
Look at us. Look at that.
Yeah.
Space.
All right, so what's his name? Kevin is just kind of we're all going to die anyway, so there's no point to life because, teenager in the 1980s. But Rudy wants to make space fast food, which he's not entirely wrong, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
Right? At this point, 1985, we saw Coke and Pepsi in space. Future missions will have popcorn and frozen pizza. So it's not unheard of. I can see him founding a company that bids on a crew resupply contract in the 2000s.
That would make the most sense, especially if you're trying to get into the commercial float zone.
Yeah, commercial float zone, all right. Yeah. And of course, we know these buildings behind them because, again, that's SpaceCamp, Space and Rocket Center.
Yep.
And also, again, this movie is so aggressively 80s. The kid, because he's
basically following every single trope that you could imagine of like, oh, what would a family-friendly 80s movie look like? Yeah,
because Max here is being bullied because he also really loves Star Wars, by the way. I haven't brought this up yet, but all he talks about is Star Wars, which makes sense because the last Star Wars movie came out in 1983, and this movie was made in 85, so it tracks. It hasn't been ruined by the prequels and Disney yet. So yeah, and of course he's bullied. He becomes friends with the large language model demon.
No, you completely cut out.
Oh jeez. So I said that Max becomes a friend with the large language model demon.
Yeah, that is the demon.
That is the demon right there. And he wants to go to space. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since this is SpaceCamp, and this is what you do in SpaceCamp, is you get assigned to different teams. These guys are being assigned to fly the shuttle. Could you imagine if that was like the technical support team they got assigned to? This movie would be so boring otherwise.
That'd be really funny, though.
Yeah. So this movie they're actually simulating STS-51A because Andy brings up Dale Gardner going out to reach Intelsat. That's what they're simulating 51A in this. So good for them.
Oh, right, yeah.
A really good mission. So gonna simulate one, do that one.
Yeah, it's a good mission.
So this is, I think, roughly where they were filming this. It's now been replaced by a mock-up of Orion and, I guess, a Cygnus-derived gateway module, as you can see.
Why would they do that? We're still flying the shuttle, right?
You'd be surprised how many people still think we're flying the shuttle.
Wait, really?
Yeah, there's some people who think that's the shuttle. Well, it's, every spaceship is the space shuttle, that kind of thing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Did they not know that the Obama administration canceled it or retired it in 2011?
Well, technically Bush retired it, but Obama carried it out. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, I remember watching a video of like people at the last shuttle launch, and someone said, I mean, this is still a great system. I mean, the Soviets, they still crash and burn. This was 2011, 20 years after the Soviet Union went away, and Soyuz has a good safety record, sort of. So, remember, space advocates, the average person knows very little about spaceflight, and what they do know is wrong from movies. Smiley face.
Tell them to watch SpaceCamp.
Yes, go watch SpaceCamp. So Kevin and Catherine, because Kevin's got eyes on Leah Thompson. Who wouldn't? And he decides to take her on a little night outing to see Atlantis on the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
Do you know how long of a drive it is?
We've made
from
this.
there.
Yeah, we've made this. It's about 11 hours away.
Yeah, it's brutal. Like when I drove up to visit you, and I'm in Jacksonville, right? So that's so it's only 9 hours, right? It took me like 10 hours to drive to you. It is agonizing.
Yeah. Because remember, and for those who don't know, Huntsville is basically 2 hours straight south of Nashville. We're like the northernmost city of Alabama. Okay? And Kennedy Space Center's on Florida. On the east side.
It's like the middle of Florida.
Yeah. It's an hour east of Orlando, where Disney World is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or about 2 hours south of Jacksonville.
But this is an actual shot of Atlantis in preparation for STS-51J.
Ooh,
You'll
okay.
notice roughly taken at the same spot. I assume similar nights.
Probably the same night.
Because you can see, right, because of the LOX beanie cap right there.
Mm-hmm.
You got the xenon lights on it. The RSS is retracted. There it is. So this shot is roughly there.
Dang.
Yes. It's, again, I think they got some access to NASA hardware. Also, my air conditioner's going off. But Max wants to go to space because people bully him. Right?
Yep, average SpaceX fanboy.
Yep. And so Jinx, the large language model, decides to put Max into space, and he goes to the SpaceCamp computer, which is this room here. And he's going to figure out how to make Max go to space, because SpaceCamp is totally NASA.
Yep, definitely. They're the exact same organization.
That they are. Again, I work across the street from NASA. It's a bit of a drive in. And he's a little demon. He could sneak through with his little demonic powers. You know?
Yeah, he can confuse and make it seem like, he doesn't exist there.
Yeah, he can cloak himself and other demonic things. But
Mm-hmm.
Jinx is trying to make Max go to space because, again, large language model.
Yeah.
Also,
He starts using his demonic powers and casting incantations.
yeah. And, of course, look at this ancient caveman technology.
It's etched into the side of the wall.
Yeah.
You have to create a new tablet every single time you want to refresh the page.
Yeah, it's the floppy disks that were flown on STS-40. That's what's being plugged into this. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jinx has to figure out a way of putting Max into space. And during this period, of course, as part of the recruitment ad, they see posters for Daedalus, the space station that NASA's building, somehow in the 1980s.
Yeah.
So this is actual concept art of Space Station Freedom, the power tower design. As you can see, that's what it's called. Look at that thing.
It's a powerful tower.
It's a very powerful tower right there. You can see that's roughly what it's modeled after. The plans were to build this in the 1990s. This would become the ISS.
Got it. Right.
But part of what's going on is, they're going to do a flight readiness firing of Atlantis, and guess what? These children get to sit in there for that.
A very likely scenario that would definitely happen.
Oh, wait, what? Which crew is this? Down here.
I don't know.
I'm going to guess STS-9.
I'm going to guess STS-51A.
Okay, well, I will look for this now when we're done.
What I want you to do is I want you to, I want you to install a buzzer, like the incorrect wrong buzzer, like on top of whoever speaks, and then show which one it is.
Yeah, it'll be like Red Letter Media. Wrong.
Yeah. It's like, oh, or the more like the meme version where it's like, oh, no, I forgot my cell. And it's,
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yes, wrong. So Jinx knows this now because Jinx, the demon, overhears these people and he whispers to Satan. And he comes up with, well, how do I get Max to space now that he's going to sit in the space shuttle? And he comes up with an SRB problem to make this launch.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's so bad.
Yep. It's the same SRB as well. Same side.
Oh, no. God. That's terrible.
This movie came out in 1986.
Okay, when did they write it, though?
1985.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this
okay.
actually, I remember reading about this. It was nicknamed Space Cramp by the production crew because it took way longer to make than anticipated. So they made T-shirts and everything. So, Space Cramp coming eventually. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, so the demon comes up with a way of sending Max to space.
By basically simulating Challenger.
Yeah.
Well, he's a demon, right? He is the demon. He uses his demonic powers for this, to see into the future.
Yeah. But the crew gets to go to Atlantis, which I think this is actual footage of Atlantis. I don't think this is actual footage of Atlantis on the launch pad. I think they got permission to do some filming. Kind of like with Armageddon.
Yeah. Because they do drive up in a van.
Yeah.
To the shuttle.
Now, this is specifically just to get these shots, obviously, as we'll see. But, so I do think because I think they used the launch footage from 51J, but it's, because again, they have shuttle footage, and I think NASA would yeah, you can use shuttle footage for your what accident? Your what? Uh-oh.
You cut out at the perfect moment where it's like, oh yeah, you could use the... What accident? What?
Yeah, we'll leave that. Don't worry. It's the user footage for this launch, but the what accident that's going on? Yeah. So,
yeah.
But yeah, talk about the wrong stuff.
It's very wrong, very bad.
Yep. And you'll notice there's no pad rats on this when they would have them. Also, where'd they get the helmets? The demon got them. That's just how.
Yeah, the demon conjured them, and they appeared before the astronauts.
Yeah.
And by grabbing them, they are accepting the contract with the demon.
Yeah. Again, NASA would never let anyone do this, especially teenagers.
Yeah, because didn't they yell at Ben Affleck when he got a little too far into the space shuttle when they were filming Armageddon?
Yes. So there's no way they would ever let get teenagers, mind you.
children.
Yeah, a 10-year-old.
Literal child.
Yeah. And of course, they're just led to the shuttle. There's no clean room, no white room. Sorry, it's the white room. That's what this is called. No white room for them to crawl in. This with the pad rats. There's only 2 pad rats here. You can see there's a lot more here.
There's at least 2 in that image.
3. You can see his legs.
Oh yeah, there's 3.
Yeah.
There's 3.
So, shockingly, this film is not accurate.
Really? Wow.
I know. And this is the firing room, but it's not the firing room, I think. Because again, if you watch Armageddon, they actually use the firing room. This looks like a set version of it.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Okay. Well, I mean, they probably didn't want them using the real one.
Yeah, there's teenagers.
So. Don't touch any of the buttons.
Oh, also,
you want to tell a teenager not to touch any of the buttons? I would touch this button.
Yeah, jeez. Also, the bald man there is Terry O'Quinn, who's been in a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty close. And of course, they got the different astronauts who they're supposed to be, which, just for the record, I actually have pictures of the actual crew of the mission for 51J. It's all dudes on that flight. No, as you can see, there's like one woman there. I don't know who that is. It's supposed to be. Again, it's a generic astronaut, but just again, we're getting very specific on this.
Yeah.
Again, there is no way they would ever let children sit. That is thunder in the space shuttle, especially during a flight readiness firing. And I bet you're asking what that is.
Flight readiness firing?
Yeah.
That's when you fire up the engine?
Yes. So for the first flight of each shuttle and the reflights after shuttle losses, the shuttle goes through a flight readiness firing. If you watch SpaceX, you really like SpaceX, they do static fires before every Falcon 9 and Starship flight, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do that. Basically the same thing. It's a qualification to prove that the vehicle actually works.
That's not just gonna blow up the second you turn on, the second you crank the engine.
Yeah. So it's to simulate a launch minus the actual launch part. So the SSMEs are actually turned on and fired for 20 seconds at 100% thrust, and they go through the gimbal cycle to prove that they work.
Okay.
Yeah. It's that. And I did read this for Columbia, the first flight. The shuttle lurches forward because again it's asymmetrical thrust, and it lurched forward by like 2 feet.
Jeez.
Yeah. And you can see in this chart here, this is for STS-1, of course, right? So they power up the engines, they fire them, they run through a gimbal cycle for about 7 seconds, then they throttle down the gimbal, and then shut down the engines. Staggered, as you can see.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is actually a screenshot of the first flight readiness firing of Atlantis when this movie takes place.
Ooh.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
So Atlantis takes place on September 12th, 1985. STS-51J, which would have been on the 19th, apparently, but that got pushed to October 3rd for a few issues.
Okay.
One of the things I was trying to find for this, because the movie is contingent on this, is how ready was the shuttle actually for launch at this point?
Right.
Like if a crew walked in and they fired up the engine and took off, would they live? Would there be like the flight software? Would that be loaded onto the vehicle at that point? Could it actually go to orbit and function? I couldn't find anything.
One part of me says yes, it would be very ready because there'd probably be one of the final things you want to do, but another part of me is thinking no, because what if it blows up?
Well, yeah, because the flight readiness firing could go wrong, right? The first flight of Discovery was delayed because of a RSLS abort, and the pad caught fire with hydrogen. And hydrogen burns invisible, by the way. So they actually had to, I think they had to replace an engine on the first flight of Discovery before they could launch.
Jeez. Yeah. So I assume it's probably not that ready. It's kind of in a weird in between state.
Yeah, so I think it's got some of the provisions in it. Because again, they're targeting a flight in a week. So I'm assuming that because this flight's actually carrying its top secret DoD payload, this right here,
Top secret.
which that would have been loaded from the rotating service structure onto the shuttle, I think.
Oh, okay, okay, that makes okay.
Which is
I see.
yeah. So also, which means if you look at the shuttle in the movie, it should have this support structure, roughly, I think.
Right.
My apologies for not being too familiar with shuttle procedures at this point. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll go step outside and get a tornado.
You should go outside and feel the power of nature, and then come back inside and apologize.
Yeah, I'll go do that. Yeah, so here's a top secret classified payload, by the way. Look at it.
Look at how classified it is.
Yeah. So I don't know if the shuttle would have been able to fly and operate for the movie, because that's what we're really concerned about.
Yeah.
So in the movie, a thermal curtain failure is triggered at the base of the right SRB, which causes auto ignition of the SRB. What do you know?
Okay.
So what do you know about solid rocket motors for these kinds of applications?
Don't they start from the top?
Yes, they have an igniter up top, but if you were designing a solid rocket motor, a million pounds of explosion, would it ignite easily?
No, I mean if it's stored, if I'm making it stored, and it's basically if it starts, it doesn't stop. I would make it very difficult to start. Like how difficult it is to set off a nuclear bomb. Like those things have a lot of safeties on them.
Apparently, yeah. Yeah, so I did take a class on solid rocket propulsion and things, and remember, these SRBs are made in Utah and shipped by train to NASA, right?
Heck yeah, I love trains.
Yeah, trains are cool, but they're designed so that they're basically inert, because again, it's going to be sitting for a while. They have the igniter specifically so it can ignite under those conditions. The SSMEs firing would not trigger the SRBs to fire. That'd be a massive design failure. Also, this means that everyone in this shot is dead.
Yeah.
June 1986. This would not happen. This would be a catastrophic failure of the system. Now, obviously, the shuttle is heading towards Challenger, but that is a far different kind of failure mode. That is mostly an operational range failure mode. I mean, it's a design flaw, but that just won't happen.
So is that what a thermal curtain is supposed to be?
I don't know. I think they're talking about the insulation at the base of the nozzle of the SRB.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, if that fails, the nozzle just melts or falls apart.
Whoops.
Yeah, it requires a lot of effort. And I also assume there's safeties so the SRBs aren't even connected to the power system. Or at least like the ignition part wouldn't be. So
yeah, because you don't want to accidentally, bump the switch and it's like, oh, I guess the shuttle's flying now.
Yes, we are flying. So it's a contrivance on top of a contrivance to make this work. So here's a good shot of the launch. And this is the actual launch, STS-51J. There it is.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Shuttle's a good-looking vehicle. Look at that thing.
Yeah.
And it is that on the pad, too. Because you can tell by the SRB, the markings up here. You can tell it's the same one.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Of course, the question I have is, well, you're launching accidentally. You have the easiest abort mode, transatlantic abort.
Yeah, because that was one of the first things that we were talking about. It's after launch. It's like, okay, what are the abort scenarios?
Yeah. Again,
transatlantic is one.
It's the easiest to do. Wait for SRB burnout. Kick those darn kids. Put them in the back. Some back of the bus. Buckle up. I'm landing this thing. Do that. It's the easiest
I
abort
will.
mode.
I will turn this space shuttle around.
No, we're not doing return to launch site with this one. No, absolutely not. Yeah, that's a great test of the shuttle system. Does this possible lethal failure mode actually work? I don't know. Let's just do transatlantic abort.
Well, let's try it on these kids. These stupid kids.
Yeah, the demon. The demon made this happen. So they got the launch sequence wrong. That's
Really?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're sitting on the pad for like a minute. So now the external tank would have been filled to flight readiness, so it would be able to go to orbit, but it's sitting on the pad for 30 seconds plus. It would not make it to orbit.
Yeah, so you're gonna do a transatlantic abort no matter what, basically.
Yeah, and that is the most realistic option for them. Transatlantic abort, which I'd assume Andy is capable of doing unless she's a mission specialist, which then we're all doomed.
Yeah, presumably. I mean, we start off with her like flying in the movie, so presumably she's a payload specialist.
Yeah, that's payload specialist behavior right there. Yeah. Also, we were trying to figure out what orbit they got into, because also, without doing ohms burns or anything like that, they're in an orbit that comes down after like a week. So.
Yeah, but also the fact that they burned through the SSME fuel, the hydrolux. I mean, they're not going to orbit.
Yeah, because with STS-93, where they had the actual hydrogen leak in the engine, that one had a series of good events not happened, they would have been 200 feet per second short of making orbit, like under performance, which ohms would have to correct for. They ended up being somewhere around 20 feet per second under performance because of, we'll discuss when we do STS-93, but this, we're talking, you're not actually going to be in orbit. You will probably deplete ohms propellant to get into orbit. Transatlantic abort.
Transatlantic abort. You're not even supposed to be up in the first place.
Yeah. Transatlantic abort will act like this never happened, go home, it's never happened. I just watched Burn After Reading this week, so it'd be like that. What did we learn here today?
Nothing.
Nothing. And also, I think they mentioned that this thing's in orbit of like 76.4 degrees, which...
Oh, gosh. Is the shuttle even capable of that?
I'll tell you about that in the next slide after this one. But this is okay shot. Also, it's like a model in front of like a painting. It's okay model work. It's just, if you look at the modeling of it, this is not the highest budget part of the film. I will say that.
Yeah. How much, do you know how much the budget was for this movie?
More than it made.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's the 80s, right? So
I think
with your visual effects, you have to do models.
So I think it was about $38 million to produce, which is more like $70 million today, I think.
Maybe,
I would have
but
I could Google it after this. It's immaterial. It's just, it's 80s lower budget VFX, whatever.
yeah.
Also,
Not exactly working with Did they work with ILM in this? I don't think they did.
I don't think they did. No, I don't think they would have done that. Also, open the payload bay doors, because if you don't, the computer's going to roast in about an hour. Just saying.
Yeah. Or don't, and they all die.
They all die. These children die on the space shuttle, which had an SRB issue in 1986.
The demon's powers are many.
So, the highest inclination orbit the shuttle ever got was on STS-36, which went to 62 degrees.
Dang.
Which
okay.
actually required a dogleg maneuver to make it to orbit, because it went north. So you have Florida, and this is the coast of the United States. So the orbit they want to hit is like 60 degrees, which if you just do straight launch into that orbit, you're going, lawyers.
Yeah, go over land and people. And
So what they do is called a dogleg maneuver, which is they go out this way and then turn. So when they do overfly land, they're going so fast that if they explode, they'll land in like the Arctic or Russia or wherever, no one cares. It doesn't matter at that point. SpaceX does these when they go to polar orbits because Cuba's right here, so they go like this for some of their polar orbits.
Straight in for Cuba.
Yeah, which again I brought this up when I talked about this at one point. Is the first time we did this, or one of the first times, there was a Thor launch and it failed, and the debris landed on a cow and killed it.
Poor cow.
In like 1964. Now, what was going on around that time?
Nothing important. Certainly nothing important with Cuba.
Yeah. That cow got a full state funeral, I think. Yeah. And hey, you should recognize some of this crew. You should recognize two of them. Yeah, which ones?
Them. Those two, yep.
John Casper.
Yep.
We're actually covering the next mission of his. And then Mike Mullane, whose autobiography we've read.
Yeah.
Well, you have a copy. You've got to read it, but you recognize them, though.
Once I learn how to read,
That is quite true. Yeah, so again,
yeah.
I don't know. The shuttle could not make it to those orbits, okay? Especially without that much propellant lost. With all that propellant it lost, it's not going to orbit. Again, they're dead.
They're dead. The demon has killed them. The demon has sacrificed these children to space.
It's a Twilight Zone episode. I want to go to space. Okay. He dies there.
Yeah, monkey's paw curls.
Yep, there we go. Again, you need the payload bay doors open, and ohms. That's not what ohms looks like. They do ohms to get into orbit. That's good, but it's still don't go to orbit. Transatlantic abort. You should have done that already.
Yeah. Should have aborted.
Yep. Now, they're going to run out of oxygen because, again, it's not ready for flight. So they decide, let's rendezvous with Daedalus and steal some of their oxygen. Because that's how spaceflight works.
Oxygen, as we all know, is very storable.
Actually, it is. If you do it right.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I did some digging into this. Okay, don't worry. The real question
I'm a little worried about the sun, being still visible below the horizon. Does that mean the flat earthers are right?
No, that's the demon. That's what the demon's doing. That's where he's getting his power. When did NASA make this?
They made it during the flights that we didn't do any research about.
Yeah, so every shuttle flight...
When we weren't looking.
Yeah, every shuttle flight we haven't talked about yet before Challenger is building Daedalus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then we get an oxygen tank from Daedalus, which, again, thank goodness they end up in an orbit that's easy to rendezvous with Daedalus as compared to, the Hubble or Tiangong. Not a reference to anything else, of course. You can speak.
What? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Gravity.
Oh, yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately, they decided to put Daedalus at 76.2 degrees.
So I think, what was Skylab at? It was 50 degrees. No.
Was it really?
Oh, Skylab, I forgot what orbit Skylab's in. Oh, it was more like 70. No, it was 70 degrees because they launched across the coast. It's something they could get with a Saturn 1B, and it pretty much flew along the east coast to get to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was reading about Skylab earlier. So, yeah, when did NASA make this thing? Jeez.
Again, when we weren't looking.
Yeah. Again, the payload bay doors should be open. That's not the RMS. This is not accurate. We'll just leave it at that.
Canadarm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Canadarm would be mission specific, I think. Where they take it off and replace it.
Also, would it be in the shuttle when they're doing a flight readiness test?
Good question. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Again, I was trying to find materials. I need to find out how to find out this. What keywords do I need to find these things to be more accurate?
You need to research how to research.
Yeah. Again, I don't know why an MMU would be on this flight. I did look. STS-51J did not have an MMU on it. I looked. So
Well, they need it for the movie.
that's true. They read the script. Like, oh, we need to put this in here. Okay.
Yeah, we don't need anything else.
Yep. And then Angie goes out, and good. She is accurate though. EVA 1 does have red stripes, so that's accurate. We have an accuracy in this film.
Hooray! What a break from the norm.
Yes. And she goes into the Tesseract or something
She goes into the jungle gym.
to get this. And again, we have looked at space station assembly materials for the space shuttle, right? 51, which one was that? 61B, 49. There's one other that did space station assembly, I thought.
Yeah, it's like ease and access.
That's 61. That's 61B.
Yep.
That might have just been it. But yeah, they're not building trusses like this. Well, if they are, they're more like long ones, and they're like test articles. We've seen ease and
this,
access.
the assembly, compared to ease and access, right? Based off of how much they were able to build with that in the time that they had, this took about 6,000 hours of astronaut EVAs to build.
Yeah. I actually learned something about being in a spacesuit and doing space flight. Do you want to know what it is?
What is it?
So, spacesuits have low pressure in them, which kind of drains oxygen to your fingertips, right?
Okay.
And the gloves are particularly tight and kind of tough to work with, which means that sometimes EVAing astronauts lose their fingernails.
What?
Yes.
I don't want to go to space.
Yeah, being an astronaut does not sound like fun. Then you go back into the space station. It smells like a gym. It's pretty noisy. You know, there's Russian music playing for some reason. I don't know where that's coming from. And the mold talks to you. Wait, that's Mir. That's different. But yeah,
That's Mir.
yeah, I learned that this week, and I had to share this because it's ugh.
Being an astronaut does sound like a nightmare.
It would be fun if you didn't have to do EVAs, and it was when you invent hygiene.
Yeah, because isn't Skylab the only like human-occupied spacecraft we've ever put into space that had a shower?
Salyut 6 had one. Also.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it broke. Which but didn't on Soviet spacecraft. Yeah. Now, for astronauts, they take a moist towelette shower every once in a while. That's what they do.
So they take a sponge bath.
Pretty much. It's, I think, one of the biggest fields that needs to be improved for human spaceflight, especially if you want to do stuff like space tourism, is hygiene. Because there's no way anyone would want to do this if they go into the space hotel and it smells like a gym. So.
Yeah. Hey, you know what the first thing I did this morning after I woke up was?
Question why you were still alive?
Well, after that.
You took a shower.
Yeah, I took a shower. First thing I do every morning. I can't do that in space.
Yeah, that's just, ugh. Yeah.
Ugh,
So let's go back to,
gross.
so I did research. On Space Station Freedom, where would the oxygen have been stored?
In the jungle gym, obviously.
Yes, in the jungle gym. Not entirely inaccurate. So these are logistics carriers that were supposed to be put on the shuttle to be put on the truss of Freedom. So you can recognize some of this, right? You can see there's the Japanese experiment module there. It's these pallets that we put outside on the truss and then mounted and like carried and docked with Freedom. So
Okay.
I doubt it would have worked. Again, the movie portrays it like it's like getting like a welding can. You can just go take it out and go, oh, we'll take this now. Obviously, they couldn't have done that. But there's some little bit there that's kind of accurate, kind of, sort of.
It's a tank with oxygen.
Yes, and I think it's liquid oxygen.
That's
these.
So they drink it.
Yeah, like in the abyss.
Perfect.
Yeah, and again, what's it doing there?
Well, I mean, they're spending so much time building up this. Oh, I know what happened. When they were building it, they accidentally left the oxygen tank in there while they were during construction, and it got caught.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we can't get it out.
Yeah. Yeah, what's it doing there? This is nowhere near the habitat modules, which, okay, you need a special docking module to dock with the space station, I guess. But again, this film is shot.
What is it doing there?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I got a great idea. Let's put it in the middle of cube. We'll give them a bunch of Cartesian coordinates and have them figure it out.
Yeah, guys, let's put it here. This is the funniest thing ever. Yeah, you try replacing it. Don't worry, Steve. Yeah, you can do it. I trust you.
I'm gonna let Steve die in space.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, what was that with my wife you were doing? Yeah. Have fun getting the oxygen, buddy. Turn off his comms. Oh no, its comms broke. Also, if you look at the adapter here, it's built like a propane tank. Just saying, which is not what they would use.
It probably is just a repurposed propane tank. They probably just grabbed it, put a little thermal blanket on top of it, and called it a day.
Yeah. So Andy can't reach because she's an adult woman, and she's probably complaining because she lost her fingernail. So they decide to send the payload specialist out.
The child.
The child. Which...
the person we're going to also blame... Yeah, the demon whisperer.
Yeah. Which they have to make the suit small enough to make him fit, which that is quite true, but here's the problem. Do you know what it is?
No, what's the issue?
You can only do one spacewalk at a time.
Why can you only do one spacewalk at a time?
Because you don't want to close the hatch and have it lock on you when you're outside the shuttle.
Oh.
So, yeah, it has to do with that, like, pressure, because it takes like an hour. Like, I think it's about an hour to repressurize the airlock. So,
Wait, it takes... Wait, hold on. It takes an entire hour?
I think it's something I can't remember specifics of this. I spent more time researching how oxygen gets to the crew on the ISS and on the space shuttle than I did this part. They only do one EVA at a time because it takes long to put the suits on. Also, think about what you're doing with EVAs, right? You're not goofing around on the MMU and bouncing around. You're working on things with a partner. So
right.
It's, yeah. And then this part, of course, is when, again, Kevin says, Luke, use the Force. Because, again, this movie was made in the 1980s. Oh.
Yeah. It's cringe.
Yes.
It's cringe.
And so this looks more like a Space Lab palette in the back than it does for again, they saw concept art of the shuttle. They decided to use that.
And I guess they forgot to ask NASA about it.
Yeah. Hey, can we get like pictures of what you're doing? No. We have the press kits. You can get those for reference.
Well, they didn't have the internet back then.
That's true.
What were they gonna it's probably not highly distributed in like libraries or anything. Information was a lot more difficult to get back in the 80s.
But if you were working with NASA to make the movie, you could have asked them.
Did they even know to ask for them?
Good question. Yeah, but again, so you can't do more than one spacewalk. Max, of course, is freaking out because he's in a spacesuit and in space, which that is understandable. That would be pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
So Max goes in, gets the oxygen tank, but then, as the section title is Gravity 2013, he starts flying away from the space station, and Angie's got to go rescue him. The 80s.
And he does about $12,000 damage to that radio antenna.
Yep.
Or radio dish.
Wherever I guess it's talking to Tidris. I don't know.
Presumably. Well, it's pointing that way, right?
Yeah. So, then Angie decides, okay, I'm going to plug this back into the shuttle. I'm going to, jury rig something, plug it in, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I did my research. This is wrong.
Tell me how it's wrong.
Okay. So, as we discussed with STS-83, there are oxygen and hydrogen tanks in the payload bay in the subfloor. These feed the fuel cells. They also feed the astronauts.
Apparently astronauts have to breathe.
Yeah, pansies. Now, this is a fluid lines and cooling, but it kind of gives you where the adapters are for this. The fueling of oxygen into the tanks on the shuttle is done on the side of the payload bay. There's like a specific spot in the port somewhere around, I think it's like right there, where they actually put that into the shuttle.
So that's from the side. So we see it from the outside on the side of the shuttle.
Yeah, there's an access door. And if we were to look through our pictures of, I think, Atlantis, you'll probably see it when we went to Kennedy Space Center. I'll put a picture in of there, too, where I say wrong again. But there's no way of easily accessing this, because the last thing you want to do is have the astronauts go outside and start playing with the hoses. So... But
one of these has got to be a garden hose.
This looks important. So I was looking into where the lines specifically are. Like, this is a diagram of O2 coming into the shuttle. As you can see, at the O2 tanks, there's lines and valves and regulators they brought in, and this is the space shuttle itself in here. So you can see from the diagram where it comes from. Obviously.
Yep. This helps a lot.
This is blatantly obvious.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I did some digging on this to find it because I care. Okay? I'm not weird.
Okay.
I'm not weird, okay?
Okay. I believe you. I trust you.
So as Angie's doing her replacement, she decides she connects the hose wrong because, again, the door's over here on the outside of the shuttle. Just saying, what are you doing over there? She releases the liquid oxygen, and it spurts out like a fire extinguisher. She goes back and bonks her head against the back of the shuttle and then dies. No. She then starts drifting away. But... the children don't know how to deploy the K upper band antenna to talk to NASA, so they've been trying to talk to NASA. But now they finally have, somehow.
Finally got reconnection.
Yeah.
We like hacked the planet, like started bouncing signals off of bizarre satellites or whatever.
Yeah, do they know that 1 is not a prime number? Yeah. So NASA decides to take control of the shuttle to bring it back down, which is not possible. I researched this. Because I was reading about Columbia, because there was one plan to rescue the crew, which would have been to launch Atlantis, actually, for STS-114, and like ferry the crew over, and then deorbit the shuttle into the Pacific. They could not actually fly the shuttle remotely in 2003. This is 1986.
Oh, gosh.
They can't actually do that. So
the space shuttle could never be remote controlled.
Not at that point, no. And also with Columbia, there's a hole in the wing, so it wouldn't have made it anyway. But yeah, it's good. But NASA can't actually do this.
Wait, so was there at one point which the space shuttle could have been remote controlled?
Well, if they'd installed the software for it any time, but I don't think they were interested in that. Because I think they could have done remote control like deorbit burns, but they couldn't like remotely control it and fly it back in.
Okay.
Yeah, they could do some maneuvering with it, I think. Again, I'd have to do more digging on that specific thing. I was far more interested in seeing if they could actually breathe in this thing.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
But Angie's dead. Well, she's not, though. But it says dead.
Yeah.
But then Catherine finds the manual override, which is in a crawl space filled with... Wait, that's different. That's the core.
Yeah.
Which again, that button does not exist. Not there. And they go to open up the payload bay doors so Max can go rescue Kate Capshaw, who's unconscious, and they bring her back. And the shuttle starts tumbling because children are flying it.
Idiots. Well, it's just like in the simulator that they set up before in the first act.
That's true. They're all... Yeah.
It was Chekhov's simulator.
Yeah. And then, of course, Catherine has to fly the shuttle in manually because, again, they turned off talking to NASA because they're children. And she's got to prove herself finally and understand the value of what being a commander is. Just like Hilary Swank in the Corps. Just saying.
Go watch the Corps. Just watch the Corps. Don't watch this. Just watch the Corps.
I prefer the Corps to this. But I also like the soundtrack to the Corps. I own it, as I've said before. But again, come on, fly. He's just looking at her. Come on, you gonna fly this? Come on, can you fly it? Come on, huh?
Fly, huh? Huh? You're a woman. Can you fly it? Huh?
Happy Pride, everyone. Okay. So they do have some shots of the shuttle coming in during re-entry, and this is a shot. This is actually STS-51J of them coming in. So there is some accuracy to this. We've seen photos of re-entry from the cockpit, and it looks kind of like that. So props to them.
Yeah, looks like they're flying through tomato soup.
Yeah, except for this is just showing the shuttle's angle, whereas this is something.
Data. It probably means something to them, maybe.
It's astronaut things you wouldn't understand. The flight suit, the seat is a bit different, as you can see. This has got a headrest that's movable, whereas this one's more solid. You can see it's just the headrest here. Also,
it's adjustable, rolling bucket seats.
I think that's a personal oxygen supply, a PEEP.
Oh, cool.
So in the event the shuttle cabin depressurized, you can activate your PEEP for your helmet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, those are neat. So here comes not Columbia, Atlantis into the atmosphere. It starts doing a flat spin, which is what Columbia did right as it started breaking up. We got a 2-for-1 on this movie, at least.
It's like it's like, oh, if there's going to be shuttle disasters, it's going to be exactly like this. A problem with the SRB during takeoff, and doing a flat spin coming in to re-entry.
Now the flat spin on Columbia was because there's a hole right here, and heat got in and melted the avionics and the hydraulics, and at that point you lose hydraulics, you can't fly this thing. And of course you got like a drag surface there now, so it just spins and disintegrates. We'll talk about it at some point. It's gonna suck, but we're gonna talk about it. But Leah Thompson successfully saves everybody and then turns to look at everyone instead of flying the shuttle in. You gotta land this thing. Go. Stop talking to your friends. Stop texting and fly the shuttle, which is actually what the commander is supposed to do. Pilot's just mostly like a backup kind of thing, but we won't talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. It's Leah Thompson's moment, okay?
It's her moment, yeah. He can't fly this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what's he doing?
All he's doing is experiencing nihilism occasionally.
Yeah.
Right? That's all he's doing.
Yeah, he's nihilistic and trying to flirt with Leah Thompson, which who wouldn't? Also, they're flying in and landing at White Sands because, again, the shuttle landed there a few times, twice, but
But I mean, like, if there's anything I've learned from 7-4 gear, it's aviate, navigate, communicate, right? Fly the plane, or in this case, the shuttle, right? Then you navigate, trying to figure out where to go, White Sands, right? And communicate. Then talk to people and say, hey, we're not going to die again.
Yeah, hey, check this out. Watch this.
I wonder if this thing could do a barrel roll.
Yeah, again, this thing has the aerodynamic qualities of a brick. So they're flying into White Sands. Also, Jinx, the demon, somehow makes it to Kennedy Space Center in 11 hours to go help, of course, I'm using heavy air quotes here, save the crew, because, again, he did this. He knows.
He put them there.
Yeah.
He knows. Yeah. He used his demonic powers to teleport to Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah. And again, at this point, we were just joking about how, like, all the guys here at NASA are like, so how are we going to, what's the report going to say to this, guys? What did we learn today? It's like, okay, remember, demon. That's what you got to say in the report. The demon did this. That white spherical demon rolling around, waiting.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You put that in the report. You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. No one's going to believe you.
I mean, they probably have... Yeah, but I mean, also Congress is probably going to have a lot more questions of like, okay, how did the white spherical demon, how were they able to access the computers? Why did you put the computers in a place accessible to children? Why did you put the children in the space shuttle? Because you did that, not the demon, not this white spherical demon.
Yeah.
Like, Everyone's getting fired.
Yeah, everyone's fired. Everyone's fired. But they safely land at White Sands with footage from STS-8. And they all go
Yay.
home happy.
And alive and not dead. And yeah.
So that's Space Camp.
What did we learn?
We've been to Space Camp. This is
We've been to the Rocket Center.
what's where Space Camp is. We got some great shots of us. I got one of me. This one, I use this as my profile picture in a few things. And I got an amazing shot of you.
Yeah.
In front of
Really epic.
yeah, in front of the shuttle Pathfinder that's there, which that was just got restored. They just redid the rocket garden. It was just open at that point. Yeah, Space Camp.
Yeah.
The movie.
Garbage. I'm glad that it lost money.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't like it that much on a rewatch. I don't know. It's a weird movie because it's the real plot of the movie happens like halfway in, and it's not possible. It treats Space Camp like JROTC, and it presents this really implausible situation for the students to go into space and then not die, because that would be really bad for a movie like this in 1986. It'd be fun to watch. Just watch it once if you want to like get like a dose of the 80s for you, because that, why not? 80s, my god, this movie's so 80s. But yeah, we didn't really like it.
My recommendation is not to watch this movie. Don't watch it. It's not worth your time.
I know Disney has talked about doing a remake of the movie. I know they've talked about it, but that was like in 2020. So
yeah, that's not happening.
That's not happening. And again, it's the other problem is, how do you market a movie like that?
What?
How do you market a movie like that? Like, how do you make that?
Well, I think if I was to remake Space Camp, I would do everything differently. It's a bad movie.
Yeah. Because I know there was one TV movie where a 10-year-old sneaks on an Apollo mission and goes to the moon.
Sounds like garbage.
It's made in the 70s. Yeah. I don't know. But you should go to the Space and Rocket Center. It's pretty cool, and I might be there and you can fist fight me, I guess.
Yeah, definitely go to the Space and Rocket Center. Just don't watch Space Camp.
Yeah, it's really cool. The Space and Rocket Center. Because, again, you have this shuttle mock-up, and I think the SRB mock-up there are actually painted versions of structural test articles for the filament wound SRBs, which is pretty cool.
You cut out, so I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you're not going to know now. Those are the filament wound SRB structural test articles.
Okay.
Yeah. You can find other parts of them in a field in Utah. So yeah. But I think it's worth going to the Space and Rocket Center. There's a big Saturn V on its side. You get a J2, you got an Apollo capsule. They got the Rocket Garden. There's an SLS test article there. It's really cool. Go to Space Camp. Don't watch Space Camp. How does that sound?
It sounds great.
So what did we learn today?
Nothing.
We didn't learn. Well, I learned a lot about how to get oxygen to astronauts in the space shuttle. I learned that.
Yeah, that you did.
Yes,
and I learned it too, against my will.
Yep. Okay. So our next special, our Christmas special, is going to be Stephen Baxter's Voyage. And I was going to include a book cover in this, so you know what it is, but this render is so nice and wonderful, made by Face of Sarcasm, I figured this is all we need. This is what we're doing for Christmas.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Made this myself.
Yep. Voyage. An alternate history going to Mars. Look at that render. and they're only gonna get better from here.
Oh yeah, they're already better. You've seen them.
Yes, yeah, the ones. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not even gonna tell you what they look like. You have to wait till Christmas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
6 months. We have a Christmas present for you.
Yes, it's gonna look great. And I think for not next Christmas, for our next movie special, I think we're gonna do Gravity.
Yeah.
We could also
Sounds about right.
We could also do Marooned.
That'd be good.
That'd be a good one to do. That movie's very slow and boring, though.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, it is accurate to a degree, so we should do that. It also inspired Gravity, so
It'd be perfect.
yeah. I don't know how we'll figure it out next year.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But take a nice long look at this render, and remember, there's going to be more of that for Christmas.
For Christmas.
Yeah.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yeah. Also, so do you think there'd be an equivalent to SpaceCamp if we were still flying the Saturn V? Like the movie?
Probably.
Be a lot less exciting because it'd be Kate Capshaw and then 2 kids.
Yeah.
And they'd be going to Skylab.
At least there's a shower there.
That is true. But remember, Skylab at that point would be like 10 years old. It's gonna smell. Oh. Yeah. SpaceCamp! Watch out for that demon.
Burn the demon.
Burn the demon.
Put it through 4,000 Kelvin, fire.
Give it a thermal curtain failure.
Yeah, to put you in space.
Yeah. Just like at the end of Portal 2.
That is what I was referencing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Space.
Spoiler alert, the cake is a lie.
Space. We should end this.
We should. All right. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Happy birthday, America. And this has been End of Mission.